Hello, everyone. Welcome to another. Oh, are we live?
We're
Yeah, we're
live.
live. I got an error message on my screen for some reason. Oh, it's not live on your Facebook. There you go. Now we're live on both.
I think we're
But
good.
yeah, yeah. So
Whoops.
sorry to start a clunky show here, but I'm Jackson with Bored and Annoyed, and welcome to another episode of Downright Annoyed with Comic Man Andy. And I'm joined, of course, with Michael and Comic Man Andy himself down below me. Tonight we are talking about the Sandman, Volume One. What was the name of this again? I forget the name of the something in Nocturnes.
Preludes and Nocturnes.
Yeah, so it's the first 8 issues of The Sandman. None of us have ever read it. It is, well known, I would say. I've seen giant collections of this at stores where, I mean, like if you buy all the volumes with the omnibus and everything, it's like that big. And yeah, that's how technical I get with my size there. That's what I'm, but yes, very interesting. But before we start talking about it, why don't we let everyone introduce themselves, starting with Mike over there.
Cool. What's up, man? Thank you guys for stopping by. I'm Mike, one of the hosts of the Downright Nerdy podcast. I run a weekly, well, actually now a couple times a week show with my fiance. Just talk everything pop culture and all that stuff. You could also find me hanging out with these guys here for this show, and also on a movie review show that we do weekly called Downright Annoyed with Movies. So check it out.
Thank you, Mike and Andy.
Hey, I'm Comic Man Andy, one of the hosts of Comic Horde's Monday Night Modern Men. Tomorrow night we're doing a Star Wars read. Looking forward to that. And host of Any Given Thursdays on the Comic Horde and co-host here every week. And co-host on Pinky's Out podcast too, which we're planning. We're planning our next one. And let me just say that the next episode is going to require a campground and a mobile home, an RV.
Oh, Jesus.
Wow. Well, I know Ken's been pretty excited. He's chomping at the bit. You can.
We're
tell
not going to be able to
week.
drive after that. We're
Got it.
I feel like we're going to be hearing like gunshots in the background of your podcast or some shit.
Yeah, and forgive me. I actually recently I don't have a mouse tonight, so if I need to move quickly from screen to screen, I'm using a touchpad. So, I'll explain later. Tough life.
Touching us.
Yeah, right, exactly.
Yeah.
But anyways, on to the topic of the show, the Sandman. I guess first off, I just want your two's general thoughts on this. Do you understand it? Do you feel lost? Is it, are you entertained reading it? What do you think? I mean, either one of you who wants to jump in first and kind of take it first, go for it.
I'll jump in first because I'll admit the first issue I was lost. I didn't know what exactly was going on. I grasped it, but without any context. I didn't read any of the letters at the beginning. There were 8 pages before I even got to the first page of the first issue in that volume, and I was like, okay, I'm just gonna get through this because I want to read it first and reread it again later. And it was probably 5, 6, 7 pages. It's like, oh, okay, but why are they even doing this? I was left there. I was a little thrown off by the art style inside based on all the covers that I've seen for all the years and not reading the book. The art style inside was quite different than what I was expecting.
Yeah, it was way more like cartoony than I thought it was going to be. You know what I
Right.
mean? And then it kind of changed throughout the 8 issues too. Like by the end, the Sandman looked different to me. He looked more detailed, more like a real person by the end of this. I don't know if
Right.
anybody else caught that. But...
At one point through the volume, I could definitely tell there was some influences from heavy metal.
Yes. Yes. But yeah, Mike, what'd you think?
So I thoroughly enjoyed this first volume. I wasn't lost. I mean, yeah, there were a couple times where I was thinking like a little WTF moments, but most of my questions were answered as I continued reading it. The way I kind of took the art style was like you mentioned how he looked different from number 1 through number 8. And I think that was that one. I mean, he's gaining more power as he, attains all of his like little possessions or whatever. But if you notice that every time we see him, it kind of drawn a little bit differently. It's somebody else who is interacting with him, like whether it be
Ooh.
his sister, whether it be the crazy dude that was in Arkham Asylum, or whether it be somebody else, right? Like everyone is kind of looking at him in a different way, or whether it's Lucifer that's looking at him, right? Like they're just looking at him a little bit differently. I don't know if that has anything to do with it. That's just something that I noticed. Um, the character arc, the story, the dialogue, the artwork, I thought was all fantastic, and it kept me going throughout the entire series. Actually, I already bought volume 2, so thank you for that, Jackson. But
Yeah.
yeah, I like it.
I thoroughly enjoyed it. Now, you mentioned kind of the forewords. There's a couple of them before even getting in. So I read all that before I started the first issue, and I think that kind of helped me prepare for that first issue, because I'm like, okay, I'm kind of taking this as you're not necessarily going to know all the way through exactly how all this stuff works or whatever, but at some point it's going to click, right? So when I read that, I kind of had that preconceived notion of, okay, well, don't let it stress you out, it's going to click eventually. And I thought the first issue was crazy. I was like blown away by the first issue. The passage of time and all these different people who can't sleep, or are kind of comatose because he's missing from the world. I
Yeah.
just was fascinated by that. So
I was never able to, as a first time reader, I was never ever able to make that connection that that's who this was being trapped, number one, and number two, that him being trapped had that consequence. I had no idea.
got it. Yeah.
Bro, I didn't know that this was DC until the third issue. Until we started seeing like Arkham and like Sandman, and then referencing the Justice League, and I'm like, wait, what? Oh
Yeah,
crap, this is DC.
that was interesting too. And one thing that they mention in the forward, I forget the guy's name who wrote the forward, but he's just basically a fan gushing about this whole story. Is he mentions that kind of goes away, like the DC references and all that stuff. I don't think that added much to this, to be honest with you. Like, I don't understand why it's there, really.
Okay, I forgot to read it, so I'm glad I didn't now.
But you know what I mean? The DC like characters being in there and stuff. I didn't know that they were even going to be in this at all. I thought
I
this
enjoyed
was
those.
just. Did you? Okay.
Yeah, I enjoyed those tie-ins, especially with the Asylum
and the Scarecrow. That was pretty good, I guess.
Yep, that was pretty good. And then the part where they talk about how the Joker always comes back and he'll be back soon, and just we wish he was here for April Fool's Day. It's not the same without him. It was kind of neat.
Yeah, but it is interesting that they're there, because it's weird. It's like it doesn't.
It's
the fact
funny.
that Arkham's in there is cool, I guess.
Yeah,
so.
If I had to make a little nitpick, I guess, for the book, it's the fact that it is tied into the DC universe. Because it's such a solid storyline in and of itself that it doesn't. I don't feel like it needs that connection to the DCU, or whatever you want to call it. It had almost the same effect as when I watched Joker, the one with oh god, what's his face? Joaquin Phoenix, right? Like that in my opinion, that was a mental health movie and not a Joker movie until they're like, oh hey, we could probably make a couple extra bucks by calling it Joker and putting some paint on his face.
Yeah, they throw Bruce Wayne in as
they throw Bruce Wayne in for 5 minutes to be like, hey, this is Joker. It would have been just as good a movie if it was just based around mental health. And to be honest, I don't know.
My assumption is that, you never know how strong the thing that you're putting out into the world is until it kind of, takes flight and people start to like it. So my assumption is at first you want to put those tie-ins in because it's something people recognize. Maybe they're more comfortable with it because of it, Over time, I would expect them to decrease, and, spoilers, I guess, reading that thing, I kind of assume that they will. The story itself, like the character of the Sandman, is just awesome. I think his look, everything about his personality, I really liked. Your introduction to him, the fact that like decades pass and he's just captured, and he's in basically a cell, and kind of the pieces of garbage that have captured him, and what they were trying to do, and they accidentally captured him.
Yeah.
I think is neat. The revelation at the end in the final issue I thought was great too. And we can say spoilers before that, but the whole way, I mean, a lot of the issues are cool. They had one where he goes like to hell. They had one where this like psychotic guy gets a hold of one of his powers and basically puts all these people in this diner through like a day of hell.
That was incredible. That was an incredible. That was an incredible issue. I really liked the way that each issue was so different from one another, but still had that overarching story of him just trying to get all this shit right.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Man, it was a fun ride.
Yeah, it was. But yeah, I mean, do you want to go issue by issue through this? I mean, what do you want to do?
Sure. Let's go issue by issue.
Yeah.
You can kind of phase it or just cut it a little bit. That first issue was very long-winded with not a lot happening, right? Because they were spanning 70 years.
Yes. Yeah.
Long-winded isn't really going to be the correct phrase at all that I'm looking for. It's
a long issue. I mean,
yeah.
I felt like it was like a quarter of the entire thing.
It was long. I feel like that benefited the first volume because when he comes back and is released from his jail, like he's so weak, and like you almost as a reader are kind of like, damn, all right, let's see where this goes, kind of thing. And that's kind of like how he's feeling right now. He's like, hey, I need to get back up, and it starts taking off right after that.
Yeah, the first one kind of sets up the mystery of who is this guy. Why do I care? What is his purpose? And then the second issue goes right into him kind of returning home. And you get an idea of like, oh, okay, this is like the dream world, essentially. So you have him get home, and then it becomes kind of a fetch quest a little bit. The rest of the volume, I would say, most of it is about getting these specific items and how they ended up where they were. I say I didn't like the DC tie-ins, but the more I'm thinking about it, I think I might have to put my foot in my mouth because I love the John Constantine stuff.
Yeah.
True. Yeah.
Because that makes perfect sense to me why he's there. Like the characters fit to me.
But then you get Martian Manhunter. It loses me a little bit there, man.
I mean, cool to see him, but you're right. It's weird that he's there, but I can't remember what. So first issue was obviously he gets captured, and I mean, it is long. It took me a while to read it.
I feel like it's almost a third of the entire volume.
It feels that way, and it's mind-blowing. I thought it was mind-blowing going through it because you're like, oh wow, this is really cool. They're kind of going back and forth between all these different people and this society that has basically run some sort of a oh god, what do you call it, like some sort of a seance type thing to try, and they're trying to capture death. I'm assuming with the idea being if you capture death, immortality, right? I mean, that's what I'm assuming the goal is. And they basically mistakenly grab the dream guy instead. And then throughout that issue, you're kind of seeing different, unrelated characters to the story and how not having him in the world is affecting them. So that's the whole first issue. I mean, specifically, is there anything I'm missing from that?
Not that I could think of off the top of my head.
Well, there's the relationship between the father and the son there, where the father passes down.
But at the same, it's not really like pertinent to the story, though, right? I mean, all that's really showing is that he was captured for a very long time, like multi-generational. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean. Oh God, what happens with the son though? Oh, it's brutal. It's so cool what he does. And I don't even remember, was that the second issue or the first when he comes
that was
back?
The end of the first.
End of the first. So yeah. So
I gotta double check.
So at the end of the first issue, basically he escapes, right? And he essentially puts the son into a coma, and correct me if I'm wrong here, but he basically puts him into like a torturous dream state, right? That's his punishment.
A never-ending nightmare.
The very last issue.
Yep. Yeah. So he puts the sun
Or
into
last
this
page is
never-ending nightmare. So like he is our protagonist, the Sandman is.
which is weird.
Well, and he's like he's not evil necessarily, but he does have the ability to do some pretty twisted stuff. So that makes it way more interesting.
Can I ask you? Let me ask you guys a question. You guys had really no background on Sandman, just the same as me. When you were started reading this first issue, did you think that he was a antagonist or a protagonist?
I thought he was a bad guy from everything that I had heard.
He looks like a bad guy. He looks like death. Just without the cloak, right?
Yeah, the thing that really surprised me, like you said, Andy, you nailed it, because the look of it when I looked at the first issue, even like the first couple pages, it was not what I was expecting. It just wasn't. It was weird. You know what I mean? I was not, and maybe the art style changes over time even more, but
well, it's because we get a lot because the covers are so weird, right? The covers are so different than the interior. You see these covers, and then you see these very cartoony looking kind of folks, right?
So let before we move forward, let's talk about that. The covers in this series are better than a lot of the covers you see now on moderns, in my opinion. Modern indies, modern indie horrors and stuff like that. But the book reads, the first issue reads kind of like those 70s horror books that I remember DC putting out. Not after pre-code horror and whatnot in the 60s and the 70s, they were doing some of those horror titles, and those pencils really make me feel like I'm reading a book from that era. But this was done in the 90s, correct?
Early 90s or late 80s, maybe.
I think it's late 80s, dude. I think it's like 89.
Yeah, but and I can't speak to that because I've never read any of those. But if there's I mean, overall, I think the look of it is great. There's little touches in the books too that are really neat. There's like phallic symbols and stuff that are like hidden in the background. Like one of the buildings reminded me of that old Little Mermaid Disney cover, how there was like a hidden penis in the temple, but yeah, there's so yeah, we're reading another penis book apparently, that we seem to have a obsession with that, but also there's one spot, and I'm upset I don't have the screenshot on me, but there's a spot where essentially they go in to like talk to somebody, and there's a character that he looks like a painting, and in the next panel he's like he's walking out, and you're like, it's very much like, okay, I can tell part of this is going to be like, I think at some point it's going to be more about, are we in a dream now or are we in the real world? So
where was this?
It was either in the first or second issue. It was when like there were the butler guy and the brother, and essentially
issue 2 then.
Yeah, so it's the butler guy and his brother.
Yeah.
Yep, that's it right there. Yeah, that was it.
Okay. Yeah.
And yeah, I noticed that right away, and there's stuff like that that's just really cool. But yeah, I don't know. Maybe.
Well, he's there looking for items and things that have pieces of him, so he can gain energy back for his quest to gain his other items back, which gives him more energy. His bag of sand, his helm.
Well, he's these brothers' masters. If you remember that, like
who are the masters?
The Sandman are the brothers' master.
Yeah, right. Yep.
Oh, okay.
Yep.
Yeah.
And there's I like I hope we get more of those two characters too, because it was kind of fun. The one's kind of a prick, and he's kind of mean to the other one. Brother. He keeps killing him. Yeah. That was very interesting. So I hope we get more of them. But yeah, that's issue 2. 3, I don't remember exactly what 3 was. Was 3 the Constantine issue when he goes to get the
sandbag?
The sandbag, right?
Yep. Yeah, that is.
And that was awesome.
Well, actually, before we jump into that, at the end of number 2, he goes to visits the 3-headed lady. Remember that?
Yep. Right.
The 3-headed, like the witches or like the fortune tellers, and he only gets one question for each, and she tells him and this is our first introduction in finding out that this is part of the Justice League, right? Because you get it's like, oh, who are these people? Like, oh, you see Batman right there,
Yep.
right? And then Constantine right there, and I don't know who, I can't remember who that guy is, but
yeah,
you started that introduction there.
Yeah, so he asks them questions, and it's one of those classic like riddle like moments where he's asking kind of the wrong question, or he's not phrasing the question correctly to get all the information that he needs. So he asks, who has this, or where is this, and she'll answer it, and then she'll answer it, and then it's like he asks another question. It's like, no, you only get one question. And then basically that sets him off on his journey, right? I mean, that's where it all comes from. But yeah, the way information is divulged to you, I mean, that is the world building happening with, okay, so we've got his name is Dream, I think. Like basically there's these different gods, so to speak. I'm just going to call them gods because that's how I think.
No, they
of
are.
Them, but
that's how they
yeah,
refer to them too.
Yeah. So there's essentially he's the god of dreams, and then there's death in this. I can't remember, was there like a desire that we haven't met yet? But essentially they're all very important for different reasons, and he has lost all of his power, and clearly it has had an effect on mankind, essentially. So he needs to get it back. But yeah, that's
the whole thing with Constantine helping Sandman, that was really fun to read.
Yeah, it reminded me of, there was like some real body horror type stuff in there, like David Cronenberg movies or something, with like all the gross stuff in the walls or whatever. And Constantine has his his long lost lover who is like a drug addict that he needs to go try and save. Yeah,
right there.
He's so badass looking. Man.
He is, yeah.
Yeah, but yeah, he goes and gets the bag of sand, and was there a specific, what do the different items do? Right?
I think they just contain his power, if I'm not mistaken.
But he like uses the sand specifically, like he like sprinkles it on people or whatever.
I don't know. Maybe it's like fairy dust. I don't know.
It's because to me,
essentially fairy dust. Yeah, I mean, he created the sand. It's a never-ending bag of sand. It never runs out, right? And
right.
It contains an essence of him, a form of his power, is that he can wield it however he chooses with his sand.
Right. But then there's like the helmet, which he uses in the one scene when he has the lounge fight later in the, or so not, maybe not even that.
Oh, you know
maybe
what I think it is too?
End.
I think that it also helps him like get from place to place, because if you notice, he's always like, he's asking like to get driven around by Constantine and stuff like that. Once he gets the sand, he's able to immediately go to like, just he pours out some sand right here, and then the next page he's in hell, right?
Oh man,
looking in there. So he's just, I think it could be a means of transportation for him. I'm not sure.
There you go. That was pretty good.
The helm is one thing that kind of, I don't know, it's like a Horcrux or something like that, where it's like it has some power. As long as he has it, it helps power him, but it doesn't really seem to do much else.
Also, Gore Vidal, he's from what I hear, he's a big Sandman guy. Dave McKean did all the covers for the series. The interior art will change with new story arcs. Kanan and Abel from the House of Mystery will reappear throughout the series. So there you go. Jackson. Sweet. Spoiler. You got it spoiled for you.
That's fine. That makes me happy. I like those two. I thought they were fun. And I forgot their name were Cain and Abel. Duh. You know, I'm sitting here calling them the brother guys, and it's like the two most famous brother names ever. And it actually kind of matches the actual Cain and Abel. So, but yeah, so after 3, he gets his bag of sand. Is that when he goes to hell in the next issue?
Yep.
And then he has, this is neat because you meet, you know, you find out like Lucifer and the Beelzebub, or there's a few, you know, demons down there, like, you know, the gods of hell, so to speak. And essentially he's down there to get his crown, which I believe is the helm, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think so,
and,
right?
Yeah, he knows one of the demons has it because one of the 3 women gave him that very basic information. And it ends up being him up against this demon in like this bar lounge, like rap battle type deal
That's
where it's
essentially
like,
what it is, right?
yeah, right. So essentially they're coming up with, they're imagining different things that would take out one another. And it goes back and forth. Really cool scene. There's no physical battle whatsoever. It's basically, what's
It's a
going
one-up
to.
game. It
It's
feels
a
like a
one
one-up.
ups. Yep, one upsmanship, and it ends with hope,
Mhm.
which was interesting. Part of me feels like, well, why wouldn't you just pull that out right away? I don't understand if that's the way the game is won, then why wouldn't you just use that?
He's allowing his opponent to exhaust all of his options, if you will.
Or maybe also it could also be similar to something like Kamagories where he has to play to the crowd, maybe too. I don't know.
Yeah, who
Like
knows?
maybe he wants to show his superiority over his opponent and just wearing him down, like with all the other crap and showing his arrogance. I guess maybe I don't know.
Well, and I love the way that like they don't, I mean, obviously like Lucifer doesn't seem great, but they also don't they play it up as if like all of these things are necessary things. You know what I mean? It's like they're all a part of this system, and with any one of them gone, there's a problem, right?
Mm-hmm.
So at the end he like kind of respectfully tries to say goodbye, and they kind of try to screw with him. Now I don't remember why all the demons like parted out of his way when he went to leave hell. Do you remember why they did?
Yeah. No, hold on.
While he looks that up really quick, I got a side question for you, Jackson. In the Keanu Reeves Constantine movie, who played that angel, the fallen angel?
Tilda Swinton, Gabriel, played Gabriel. Oh, and she
Oh,
yeah. Yeah, actually that's pretty good.
Was that not a fairly striking resemblance to that character?
Yes, that's pretty good.
I almost wonder whoever casted her initially were casting her for a different part in the movie, and she wound up playing that fallen angel, Gabriel.
Yeah. That's pretty good. I mean, it looks exactly like her. By the way, I like that movie. I really like that movie a lot.
I'm gonna watch
Constantine.
Yeah, I thought it was good, but
No, Jackson, you can't watch it until you win it on the wheel.
yeah, no,
So
I'm not allowed to watch anything. In the army now is the only thing I'm allowed to watch. But
so when Lucifer tells him like, hey, what makes you think that we're just gonna let you go, right? He says she says you have no power here, and he goes, perhaps you speak truly, but you say that dreams have no power here. Tell me, Lucifer, ask yourselves, all of you, what would hell have if those here in prison were not able to dream of heaven?
Mm-hmm.
So once he says that, I don't know if you see it on my blurry
does he
screen.
sprinkle the dust over the crowd?
No, he doesn't sprinkle the dust at all. But I mean, I think Lucifer realizes that if the people in prison and hell aren't able to dream of heaven, then they would just revolt and take over.
Sure. There you go.
That's how I'm thinking of it, I guess.
God, what a crazy little story, by the way. Just this whole thing is just nuts.
Oh, then we get the creepy dude next. This guy.
Yep, right. And then that probably... Sorry, go ahead, Andy.
Well, he's introduced in book 2 when the woman in the green dress goes to the asylum and she wants to see her son. So I don't know who the woman in the green dress is, but she has the ruby, right? Or no, yeah, I think she had the ruby. And
I thought the ruby was like the ruby's at like a warehouse somewhere, though, right?
It ended up at a warehouse, didn't it? Or no, she had the amulet, the eye amulet thing.
Right. But that is his mother, isn't it? Isn't that his mother?
Yeah.
Yeah, his mother shows up to see him, and he's like this decrepit. Now, I don't remember exactly how he got that way.
I think the way that he explained it to the... Huh?
That's not the son from the first issue, is it?
No. So the way that they explained it, he explained it later, is he just has lost an appetite, right? And he just kind of got old and decrepit. That's what happens at Arkham, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah, but how does he even know? How does he know about the gem and everything, though?
Apparently, it used to be his or his mother's. No, his
That's
mother gave it to him, right?
are we sure Andy's not right and that he's somehow related to
Maybe.
hopefully Gore can fix this for us,
Yeah,
actually.
Gore,
in the
help.
chat. But yeah, I don't remember how he got there, but essentially there's this decrepit, he's immortal, right? He's just a guy, he's just a dude, he's human. And he's rotting away in this cell, and and we keep losing Mike. Mike's having a little bit of camera issues tonight, connection issues. So sorry about that, people. But he's rotting away in this cell. His mother comes to visit him. I think maybe she gives him the hint of what is out there. I don't remember exactly. I only had the chance to read it once, but basically we're introduced to this guy who's a nut, and he wants to break out of the asylum and go get this gem. And he is a crucial piece of the rest of the books, I would say. He becomes like one of the main arc that's left in the books revolves around this guy. So
Right.
issue 4, sorry, go ahead, Andy.
They talk a little bit in the book how he spent a lot of time with the gem or the ruby, uh, finding a way to amplify its power for him so he could use it, and he tinkered with it and did a bunch of stuff, and then that's why they say he looks and is almost immortal. Is it the effect the jewel had on him makes him not sleep and not eat, and now he's kind of immortal, and he looks like this disgusting melted golem. And so he had it before.
Okay.
I don't know how he lost it and got into. I see. This is why I try to reread books multiple times before, because if I do one read through and then a show, there's bits and pieces that I'm always missing.
No, and you're right. You know what? You're jogging my memory, because the gem was stolen. The gem was like stolen when the 3 items were all stolen from the Sandman, and they all got put in different places. So there's been like 60, 70 years that this gem has been out of the Sandman's hands. And in that time, somebody sold it or stole it or something. And it ended up it was the mother's. And I think her possessions ended up in that warehouse. I think that's maybe what happened.
Yeah, because she took off with it and got on a ship and ran away.
Right. So then he wants to break out and go get it. And that's the 4th issue, right, Mike? You've got the issues in front of you. So the 4th one, he breaks out of Arkham. I don't remember how he breaks out. Clearly I'm bad at comprehension here.
I know that.
Right, but he breaks out of,
gets into the blonde chick's car.
Yeah, and that was kind of a fun bit between him and that blonde chick, and her kind of being nice to him, giving him a jacket or whatever, and taking him to the warehouse. And then I forget, he asks her a question about, is your husband really a mafia hitman?
Yeah.
She says no, and he kills her on the spot. So he's a dastardly fellow.
I don't know if you'll see this with my shitty camera. But right there.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. Oh God, he is awesome looking character too. I mean, he just and the way they showed that with just the little blood splatter coming towards the barrel of the gun, that was great. He goes in, gets it. Sandman comes in, and it's been changed, so it hurts him. Sandman gets like
power from him.
Yeah, he gets incapacitated, and then that's kind of the end of that issue. That's the end of that issue.
Go to the 24-hour diner.
Then we go to the 24-hour diner. Is this your favorite issue, Mike? What's your favorite issue? Is this the one or no?
This has to be one of the one. Let me just flip ahead just to make sure. But yeah, it definitely is my favorite.
It feels like it's a nightmare. The issue is.
It is. I mean, the way that he just toys with all of them, it's very maniacal and actually lightweight, kind of Jokerish.
Yeah.
I mean, he just likes to just mess with their minds, and it was just a complete mind f.
Yeah, so he goes into this diner late at night, early morning or whatever, and he sits down, gets a table, and basically every person that walks into that diner you learn a little bit about their personality, and he screws with them based on their different personalities. So the main one that we meet is the waitress, who she's a writer, Betty, and she basically secretly writes stories about all the different people, her regulars, you know. And that's how we kind of get told a little bit about each of them. I thought that was really creative and clever, the way that that was written. And then, yeah, he just does some twisted stuff in there. I mean, very, very twisted. And
I'm just looking at him in the background. Is just,
yep.
How creepy is that?
Yeah, he's just sitting in the corner, just observing everything. But yeah, he's using this. He's angry, clearly. He wants to get back at mankind for some reason. He essentially, and correct me if I'm wrong, but there's other people that aren't in the diner being affected by all this too, right?
Yep.
Yeah. Yeah. So
I think it's everybody like on Earth.
Right, because they start playing like news clips about like all the crazy stuff that's happening. You know, and they turn the TV on, and
there's the one like Muppet Show where the dude tells everyone to slit their wrists.
Yes,
make sure you do it lengthwise and not across.
Yeah,
I'm like, oh wow, that escalated quickly.
And there's a lesbian girl in there who's like had a fight with her girlfriend. There's this like jerk off like businessman in there with his secretary or girlfriend or something.
Oh God! And then the woman who we find out that she's into necrophilia.
Oh God,
yeah,
that was disturbing,
bro. I had to reread that page like 3 times to make sure I understood what I was reading. That was the only time I was really confused, and I'm like, oh, okay, so she really just likes to bang dead dudes.
Well, and it was never the same after that.
What did he say? It was never the same. Like sometimes when I'd make love to Gary, I'd ask him to lie real still. I closed my eyes and pretend, but it was never the same.
Oh, creepy.
Yes, very creepy. Yeah, and then I mean, it
made him lie real still.
He ends up like, you know, making them do things to themselves and each other that are very.
Let me ask
disturbing.
you this. So, she's there, right? That's that scene I was just talked about. And then right here, she's obviously doing it with someone. Who's she doing it with?
Somebody in the diner.
Yep.
Just a rando.
Yeah.
Just some rando.
Okay. Yeah, another one of the diner goers. Yeah, why not?
So there's something
doing it to the tune of Addams Family.
Right.
Oh yeah. On this TV screen. There's something else that important that I feel is important that happens in this issue is he's sitting there having a cup of coffee on one of the pages that Mike showed. And at the very bottom 3 panels, it shows him holding the cup of coffee. In his left hand, he has the eyeball amulet. And then in his right hand, he has the ruby.
Okay.
So the eyeball he got from the security or the prison guard that after his mother passed away, he's like, here, you can have this. And somehow that gave him some sort of power or ability to be able to escape his cell so he could go hunt down the ruby.
Got it. Okay.
That's why I was getting things a little mixed up there before, but it's in this issue when he's sitting there sipping coffee that you see both of them in his hands.
Oh man, he's a creepy character.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then I mean by like hour 20 and 21, he just essentially makes them kill each other.
Yes.
Or themselves.
Right? Yes. Right.
Man, in hour 23, this one was really creepy when he sees him just snatch the fly out of midair and then eat it.
Yep.
I mean, we've seen that a lot in like movies, but just seeing it drawn on the page was pretty cool.
Yeah. Yeah, you can see the motion. That's one thing I'm learning is, you know, a talent for artists in comic books is like you don't feel like thinking back on this. I feel like I can see this scene playing out. It feels like it's moving to me, even though you're looking at still images. You know,
I still think the creepiest part is when they're randomly doing each other behind the counter, and this guy's just sitting there on the counter looking him, and his response was neat.
Neat, yeah.
That just grossed me out, man.
Yeah, well, I mean, that's the Sandman for you, apparently. Yeah,
So the very end of the issue, we see Sandman come in. He's like, he's the old creepy dude's like, you don't even look powerful enough to or strong enough to defeat me or anything. And he goes, do you? You know, is that what you think, kind of thing? And then the next issue opens up with them having a conversation. It's very clear at this point that Sandman's a good guy, in my opinion, because
yeah,
he's like, dude, look what you're doing to this dream world, kind of thing. I don't know. Like, yeah,
I
he's
don't know.
maybe he's an anti-hero kind of thing.
I don't
Kind of
think
like a
he's good or
Deadpool-ish,
bad. I think he's just what he is. He has a
kind of like
purpose
Death.
and right. Yep, exactly. Yeah. I mean, he even makes a comment jumping ahead about death, where it's like, God, you're a way better person than I am. Why are people so scared of death and they're not scared of me? You know what I
Yeah.
mean?
Yeah.
And they even paint Death as a good character too. Yeah.
Right. Yep. So yeah, I don't think that I think it's going to be a very morally gray universe down to pretty much every character is what I'm expecting, but I could be wrong. I could be wrong.
Yeah.
But yeah,
Well,
so the next issue is what, 7? Is it 7 the one that he fights?
Yeah.
He fights the guy.
Fights a dude in his dream world, because that's the only place where he could really, actually put up a good decent fight.
Right, and I like that
dude
too.
called
That was very
Coward,
Nightmare on
right? He's all like,
Yeah.
that was very Nightmare on Elm Street-ish to me when the guy enters the dream world and it's like he's
oh, dude! As
not
soon as
himself.
I read this, I was like, oh, this has Jackson's name written all over it.
Oh yeah, it's great. He enters the dream world, and I can't remember what he is, but when he first
Caesar.
comes in, yeah, he's Caesar. There you go. He's Caesar. He enters the dream world, and he's Caesar, and it's like you have that moment where you figure out it's a dream. You know, like have you ever been dreaming, and there's a moment where you just kind of feel like you know? I feel like that's happened to me before. Typically, you wake up soon after, but
Yeah.
but that happens here, and essentially the whole dynamic of that changes. So
Well, I mean, when he enters the dream world as as Caesar, he's immediately greeted by 3 women who look exactly the same, and finds out that's his mother. And dreams. I had a dream I was raping my mother. What does that mean? Because it means that you will rule the world, Caesar, our universal mother. I'm like, oh wow, okay, so
yeah, the raping his
that's
mother.
another,
Yeah, this is it's a
another
gross.
escalation quickly.
It goes
It's
places.
very gross. Yeah.
Yes. But yeah, I don't know
Um,
what happens in this book now. It's he essentially tricks him into destroying the
Yeah.
gem, or maybe he doesn't even mean to trick him into
I don't
doing
think
it, but he does it.
He didn't.
Yeah.
He didn't mean to. He didn't mean for that to happen. It was just something that transpired. He realized, well, I don't need the gem to get my power back. He had put so much of himself into it that once that was destroyed and returned to him, he was doubly more powerful than he thought he had been before, or would be, just by holding the gem or having the gem back.
Right. Yep. Yeah. So he gets.
and then when the gem is destroyed,
the power is
I love
returned.
this. I love this panel. This all white panel.
Yes. Yeah.
Just
Looks way cooler on a
alone.
page than it did on my Kindle, Mike. I gotta say, it's probably
Kindle's
worth it to have the
Kindle's
physical.
stupid, man. Get the book.
But yes.
But were you guys surprised that he didn't kill the dude once he got his
No.
powers?
No, I think
No, you
I
weren't?
think this is what they're all about, is tormenting. Like Jackson said, that they live and play in that morally gray area. So death is obviously death. Like there's finality in what that character does, but him, I think his bag of tricks and what he loves to do is all about tormenting things and people.
All right.
You bring up a good point, Andy. Can he kill someone without death present?
Ooh. Yeah, that's a great question. Yeah.
I mean, are we to assume that, and again, we're going to talk about this is a good segue
did he
into the
kill
next
anybody?
issue. I don't think so.
I don't think he did at all.
No, he just leaves people in a crazy dream state and just tortures them. And
Right.
in this guy's case, he brings them back to Arkham.
Right. So the one character I can think of who died is the sister or the girlfriend, the ex-girlfriend of Constantine. Because she doesn't get killed by him.
True.
Right?
No. No, yeah,
No, but no, he leaves her in a state that would make her pass comfortably. We don't actually see her die,
Right.
but we know that she's like about to die, right? She's like
So
he's like,
what?
"Hey, don't worry. She is going to be peaceful in her passing."
she was gonna die without his bag, without his
Right.
powder. Like essentially, there was a um, it's an addiction, a drug addiction. His sand is for a mortal, and when he took it away
Mhm.
from her, she was eventually gonna die. He just left her in a peaceful dream state, and then she passed after that because she was counting 100 seconds, then she was doing some of the sand dust. 100 seconds, then doing some of the sand dust. So every 100 seconds she was doing that, and apparently that's what made her pass, was that she wasn't able to do it again, and he left her in a dream state where she was comfortable.
Yeah, and I mean, one could assume that as soon as they left the house, death showed up, right?
100 seconds, right?
Yeah. But yeah, that's a good segue into the next issue, which is where you learn that Death is his sister.
God, that was such a.
And
This was a really good. While it was
oh,
very short, it was a very good issue.
it was an incredible ending to this book that we read. I
Mhm.
thought it was a great epilogue, essentially, because you learn a little bit more. Um, it introduces a new character that you can kind of be excited to follow moving forward. And there's just something about them going, I've got appointments today. And she's got to go from place to place, and kind of people dealing in that split second moment where they
Oh
realize
God.
they're going to die. Like,
Speaking of appointments,
oh,
I'm sorry to cut you off, man, but when she's like, when the guy's like, "How do you know my name?" and then like we don't find out till the very end when he gets hit by a car, you know?
Yeah, she says, "See you again soon," and then he's
Yeah,
like, "Okay."
yeah. Yeah. I mean, we can assume
I don't.
she knows everybody's name, and soon to
Yeah,
her could be 100 years, right?
yeah, right.
Right.
I gotta say, I absolutely love that Death and Lucifer are both portrayed by women, and it just threw me completely off guard because we're always very used to seeing Lucifer as this big horned red devil guy, and
Sure.
we're used to seeing Death as this cloak guy with a big old, I don't know, night. What is it? What does he carry around?
Pitchfork?
That big pit? Is it a
Or no,
pitchfork?
no,
It's like
The
one of those.
pitchfork. What is that
But you
thing
know what I'm
called? I
saying,
know
though.
what you're
Like, I
talking
mean, we
about.
see him in very,
it's gonna kill me now.
Ian McKellen looking like kind of guy, right? Um, and I mean, it was just a very different take than that caught me off guard, which is something I really loved
A
about
glaive?
Scythe.
Sky,
this.
thank you.
There it is.
Yeah, no, instead it's like this kind of emo chick who at first you're like, okay, what is going on here? How does she know him? And they kind of have their conversation, and she's kind of giving him shit for moping.
God,
Yeah.
doesn't it?
Oh, it's great.
That's what
Tell me
adds
this
to
didn't make you think, though. I mean, like when the dude is right there, he's like, what does he say? He says, "I look so empty. I look so old," and he's just like looking at himself.
Yes.
I'm
Yeah.
like, oh my god, that's like, and it made me think like if I died right now and then I'll just look at myself in this chair, I'm like, damn,
I
really
love
should have
when
invested
she
in some better internet so I could at least look good,
I love when she says to him, now's when you find out, or whatever. Like, this is
Mhm.
it. You've been wondering your whole life, what's going to
Yeah,
happen? How does
yeah.
it
Now what?
end?
Now's when you find out, Harry.
And we don't really find out.
No,
So that's
we don't
fun
see any
too.
sort of we don't see any sort of judgment or anything beyond they're at this astral plane where what's next. But I
Right.
really like the fact that Death is played by a woman as well, because her being the sister to the Sandman, is that brother sister. You know what I mean? The back and forth, where she calls him out for moping around, and that relationship that they have as a brother and a sister is actually really cool, and I think it amplifies this issue more so than if they hadn't been a brother and sister, or she hadn't been she had been a guy playing Death. And I hope that we get to see a lot more of this going forward.
I'm sure we will.
Agreed. And Gore Vidal, that's an actual dream the real Caesar had and wrote down in his autobiography. Gaiman, by middle school, had gone through its entire library. Although he loves comics, Gaiman by middle school had gone through his its entire library. Although he loves comics, novelists are his influence. And I know Neil Gaiman's written novels too. I always thought of him as more of a horror novelist than, you know, a comic book guy. But yeah, that's cool. That's a nice little Easter egg there. I didn't realize that.
Yeah.
So thank you, sir. But yeah, the final issue is great. We see Death do her thing a few times. There's some notes about Death, like is be a better person than Sandman. It's almost, and it kind of makes sense. I mean, you know, Death is not putting anyone through some awful thing like the Sandman does in a few moments throughout this. So I really liked where it left off. You know, if I never read this book again, I would feel satisfied just stopping here. That's not going to happen.
I already bought volume 2, man. It's on the way.
So, I was very, very satisfied. I thought this was great. I thought it was great. It was totally unique, not what I expected really at all. And yeah, I'm happy I picked it.
You know, I'm going back looking for the phrase they talked about earlier about where she talks about, she's like, I don't understand why people are so, or maybe it was him saying, I don't understand why people are so afraid of death when they should be more afraid of me, because death is helping them continue on with the next phase. But one thing I noticed while I was flipping through, while she's doing her thing and seeing her appointments, as people pass, the phrase that he says is, I hear the sound of wings. Does that mean they're going to heaven?
Yeah, that could be it.
Yeah. That's it. That was interesting. I didn't make that connection until flipping back through again. Especially for the baby. That was probably the toughest. That was probably the toughest page in that whole book to actually, you know, that's reality. Unfortunately, some babies do pass, and
right
in the book.
Yeah, that was rough, and the fact that the baby was conscious of it, like the baby even said something along the lines of like, already, like it's already my time, and then the mother walking in, ooh,
drops the bottle.
Yeah, that was terrible.
But is that all there was? Question mark. Is that all I get? This was from the toddler / baby.
Yep.
Yep.
Yeah. Well, that really puts a downer on the whole thing. Thanks,
but
Andy.
It adds a very deep layer to this story.
It does. Yeah.
Damn it. Yeah. Even when Jackson picks it, we're still annoyed with ComicManAndy.
Why?
Because you just made us all depressed, Andy.
Yeah.
We've forgotten about the baby. We tried to forget about the baby.
But if a story draws that level of emotion from you, isn't that what the author is working to do?
Sure.
Yes. Yes. And it, you know, it kind of, just talking about that, there's nothing I hate more. I mean, maybe there's things I hate more, but there's not much I hate more than that saying of like, everything happens for a reason. You know? Tragedy. Everything happens for a reason. It seems to me that this book, we don't really know if that's the case. I mean, there's a reason why Death was made an appointment for that baby, right? So everything has a reason in this story, I guess. But yeah, we don't really have, you know, what the reason is for all of these things needing to exist. We just know that they all have their own place. And if anything is removed, there's a problem. You know, like what would happen if in the story, in the context of this book, say those people succeeded at the beginning and they captured Death, right? And all of a sudden everyone's immortal. I mean, that's basically the implication made, is that everyone would be immortal. It doesn't say that you'd stop having children. So the world would become incredibly overpopulated. Everyone would get extremely old and decrepit, but they just wouldn't die, would be the context, I would say. So.
Ooh. Okay, I'm going to start reading tonight then.
Okay, well, I mean, maybe, Andy, you might have to hold off, because
I'm reading it I'll read it on my own, and then when you guys come back and vote on it, we do a show. Then
I can't live knowing you're reading it without me. That's not. That's not
You
happening.
know, I had a dream one time that my internet was okay, and that dream just came and gone over just.
No, that was last night. That wasn't a dream, Mike. Your last night, your internet was fine.
Okay.
So
All right.
that wasn't a dream.
So, anyways, you want to go over grades real quick?
I mean, I'll just start with that. I'll give this so far. I have nothing bad to say about it. A plus. I really enjoyed this. I thought it was
Wow.
amazing. I loved it.
I'm gonna go with a straight A on this. The only way it could have been, and this is where modern comics have spoiled me a little bit. The only way I would have given it an A plus would be if that cover art is what I was getting through the entire book.
Got it. All right.
You know, you see some moderns that are doing that, and it's just absolutely amazing to have a story being a visual aspect of a story like that. Whereas this, I felt like the first issue was a bit of a detractor, and then it kind of art-wise, it kind of continued to build, and they kind of honed and got better and really dialed in where they wanted to go with it.
Cool. I'll give it an A as well. I mean, I don't have much else to say about it. I've said everything already. It's great. You guys said everything I wanted to say too.
Sweet.
That's it. I'm curious. Rank this amongst Volume 1 of Gideon Falls and Volume 1 of Saga.
I think I like it better than Gideon Falls so far.
I do.
Yeah.
I do. 100%. Like right here, like
Andy's shaking his head. I think I do, but that's tough,
it's
right?
close.
Because
I mean, that's like, yeah.
But they're two different things. They're very much two different things. Gideon Falls is more of a, a mystery. Like, okay, this is kind of a neat, like smaller story. This is more like epic of gods and men type stuff. So yeah. So I don't know. It's different. It's also harder because we don't know where this goes, right? I mean, this is all written. We don't know where it goes at all.
Hindsight.
So how
right?
can you? Yeah. So
I mean, like Gideon Falls is a pretty epic horror thriller, whereas this seems to be neither.
It's a little. It's creepy.
I don't know. I feel like it's a bit horror.
It's horror. Got horror elements, but it's not.
I wouldn't call it a horror title, though.
What else would you call it, though?
Yeah, I know.
Superhero.
It's got all the tropes of horror. It's
it's horror, dude. I think it's horror, man. I mean, you're dealing with someone who likes to torture people with their dreams. That's essentially like a world Freddy Krueger, right?
Yeah. I don't know. It's horror, but there's no villain yet,
right?
I think the villains are people who are alive. Those are his villains because they just keep on trying. Well, actually, it's also the people that are gods and dead too.
Yeah, right.
It's everyone who's not him.
It's horror fantasy, I will call it.
Right.
It's horror fantasy. Whereas, I don't know. I loved this though. I can't wait to keep reading it. I don't know who's choosing for next week. Out of
Andy's
curiosity.
Andy's turn.
Andy's turn.
Yeah.
All right. Well, let's hear it. What are we reading? What do you got?
How could we not read volume 2 of this after this? How could we not?
It's your pick, man.
Let's go with volume 2 of this and go forward. I feel like we've been at this for an hour. I feel like we barely scratched the surface in the first book, and we just talked about some key points. I feel like if we took the time to reread volume 1 a couple of times and read volume 2, we'll make a lot more connections and things will make a lot more sense, at least for me.
Who's got time for that, Andy? Who's got time for that? Yeah, that's true. You're like living in the Sandman world. You just don't sleep. You just sit there and read Sandman over and over.
So I'll be honest. Volume 1 probably took me a good 2 hours, 2.5 hours to read, and I had to break it up into 2 segments.
So it took me all week. I was reading it bit by bit throughout the week.
Yeah, like the last 3 or 4 issues went quick. The first one was slow. First 2 were slow. So I'm wondering if the second volume would move quicker or not. We'll see though, because we're gonna do it.
All right, cool. So it'll be back on Jackson's channel then next week.
Yeah.
And we'll pick a day. Just follow our social media for all that goodness.
Yeah, I'm excited to read it more. I'm glad it's what you picked.
Yeah.
I didn't want to put it down. I held off on. How does borrowing work on Comics Unlimited? By the way,
it's whatever their monthly fee is, I forget. I don't remember if it was $12 or $15 a month. It was comparable to most streaming services, even though this isn't a streaming service. And what you do is when you log in, and go to their website and do a search, like I search for Sandman, it'll show you a little like ribbon on the corner of a book that says unlimited.
Okay.
And then it'll give you the option, instead of buying the book, it'll let you borrow the book.
And then you have it until you like delete it from your
You can
okay.
remove it from my iPad or return book. Like, I can't imagine that somebody's going to be there waiting in line, waiting for me to return the book so they can read it digitally too.
Yeah, I don't understand how it works,
but it's obviously not something they can permanently download.
There you go, Constantine, buddy.
What's that?
I'll just Gore says, if you enjoyed this, I recommend Hellblazer: The Vertigo Years by Jamie Delano, Earth Guinness, and or Garth Ennis, Dyslexia, and Brian Azzarello.
Nice.
But yeah, if you like,
it was Brian Azzarello. Did he write Luther and Joker? Was that him that wrote those?
I have no idea.
I think it was, and I dug Luther big time. So, so I guess next week we will be at some point reviewing Sandman Volume 2. Hopefully it stays this good. According to, who was it? Was it Gore over here that said Volume 2 is even better? So, I can't wait. Can't wait to read it, and can't wait to see you fellas again.
I think we actually had a fan suggestion say we should read Volume 2 first, but
yes,
I think that was Gore.
Oh,
that was Gore. Okay, so let's talk about that for a second. I can't imagine having not read this. I don't. Gore, if you're still there,
let me. So I had a similar experience of consuming something, a part 2 of something before part 1, which ended up being my favorite thing of all time. I started 24 at season 2.
Ooh.
And then I went on to watch seasons 2, 3, and 4, and then I went back to watch season 1. And it just made me appreciate it even more, because I'm like, oh my God, I know who that is. I want to know how they get to wherever.
Yeah, but the twist was gone, though.
The twist was gone, but I wanted to know how it happened, and it was amazing. It was still good. It was still good.
Oh yeah, but no, it is interesting though. Like, you're right. It's probably doable. But it seems like this was such a foundation for the character, right?
Right.
I mean, I don't understand, and maybe we'll be able to understand when we start too. But if Gore, if your concern was that maybe we wouldn't like this because we started on 1, I don't know what the main concern was. So I'd be interested, and even if we stop, recording before this is over, if you could put it in the comments, I'd be interested in hearing kind of like more about what your thoughts are that you would suggest too, because I felt like this was awesome. So I don't know.
Oh, look at this. The 3 of you are unique and really enjoying Volume 1. Many readers I've encountered in recent years can't get through Volume 1, but love Volume 2. I don't know what's the case. Interesting.
That just means we're intelligent and other people aren't.
I feel like we're all gonna hate Volume 2 next week now.
Yeah, right. We're gonna end it there.
Yeah. So, how many volumes are there? I'm assuming this goes
30
on for
years
a long...
worth of comic books, man.
I can get that answer for you in just a moment.
Oh, and also,
I've seen, like I said, there's like 8 big hardcover, like the complete Sandman, and it is gigantic. It's massive. So I've got to imagine this goes on for a long time.
By the way, I know you guys were talking about Comixology renting or whatever it is you guys said. I've been getting a lot of my trade paperbacks used on eBay for like I got this for $4.
Oh wow!
Shipped.
Wow.
Yeah. So if granted, we only have a week to get this book, right? So
that's the tough part.
Yeah, exactly. So, but if there's something out there that looks like it's good, you might enjoy. eBay is a great place to find something like that. I know they call it Feebay, but whatever, it is what it is. If you want something, just go get it.
I gotta say, looking at Gore's last 2 comments, I think this is doable for us. I don't see why we can't knock this thing out.
Dude, we did Saga.
Yeah, true. Oh God, Saga we did like 18 issues at a time though.
I'll probably have to do what Mike's doing then and find them on eBay or online somewhere else, because it looks like Comixology only has the first 3 volumes available.
Amazon also. I got it on Amazon.
Okay.
Nice. All right.
Oh, you got that trade used on Amazon?
I'm sorry. No, I got this on eBay, but volume 2 I had to order on Amazon.
Okay.
Had to order it on Amazon.
Shucks, those big companies, man.
But yeah, those damn man, I couldn't. Amazon has been great to me over the last 3
I love
months.
Amazon.
I can't stop. I can't stop ordering off Amazon. So
there hasn't been a day over the past like 2 months where a new package hasn't come to our house, whether it's me or Riley.
Right.
Yep. I got a package delivered just a little bit ago. I asked the wife, I'm like, hey, did they drop something off? She's like, no, it's Sunday. Who delivers on a Sunday? I'm like, Amazon does.
Amazon does.
We're doing
should ask.
We're 20 minutes into the show. My phone goes ding, and it's package delivered. I'm like, all right.
There you go. Perfect. Well, I guess that we will leave you with that. Guys, if you want to say goodbye, I'm going to take the risk and blow Mike up here. I don't know if he's going to stay
don't do that. Don't make
clear.
Hold on, no.
He looks good. He actually looks good right now. Of course,
okay,
at the
well,
end
I'll make
of the
this
show.
quick. You find me on Downright Nerdy Podcast. We're releasing 3 episodes per week. Go check me out there. Link is in below.
Perfect. And Andy?
Hey, ComicManAndy here. Oh, man, where can you guys find me? Monday night, the Comic Core channel, CORPS, and we're going to be reading a Star Wars book. Can't remember the exact one. I got to read that tonight and tomorrow. Yeah, Monday's tomorrow already? What happened to this week? Monday night, Modern Men, the Comic Core. You guys can find me there. Thursday, you guys can find me on Andy Given Thursday that I host. And you guys can occasionally find me here Saturday nights with whatever we're reading, and we're doing Sandman Volume 2 next. I got my own channel where I do some tinkering with some edited video and some content there, which is a lot of fun. ComicManAndy and at ComicManAndy on Instagram. More importantly, coming up will be the most epic adventure ever of Pinky's Out podcast. We're going to be doing I think it's a 7-year vertical of one of our favorite local beers. So there will be no driving involved whatsoever, but we're looking forward to that.
Perfect.
Nice.
And I am Jackson from Bored and Annoyed. Before I pitch my stuff, I do want to mention that you should definitely go over to Downright Nerdy Podcast for a couple reasons. First off, you can watch Mike scarf down a 10 patty In-N-Out burger, which I thought was going to be easy to watch, but it was scarier than the Sandman, I would say. And then secondly, the episode that we recorded last night of Downright Annoyed with Movies on Commando was probably the most fun I've had doing this in a long time. And I won't really spoil why, but something happened in it that was hilarious. And then the next episode of Bored and Annoyed, there will be some changes. Actually, Ken from Pinky's Out Podcast is going to co-host with me since my co-host left the show. So I'm bringing in guests. Either one of you two, if you ever want to talk movies or anything, you're more than welcome to hop on and do that. But yeah, Ken and I are going to review a movie or two, I think, and shoot the shit. I'm going to tell Ken to be on his best behavior. I don't need any ruffians on my channel or anything. But yeah. So make sure you tune in for that. And thank you for joining. And we're excited to read Sandman some more. So we'll see you next week.
Sandman, bring me a dream.
Dude, that song has been stuck in my head